please go check out his website, and that's spiralgalaxy.org. That's spiral.org. In it, it has all of the research that Robert and others have been doing in regards to the topic that we're talking about tonight, which is unidentified, the UFO phenomenon, the scientific phenomenon, the nuclear phenomenon, the consciousness rising, unidentified. It's just filled with all kinds of wonderful information. So again, it's spiralgalaxy.org. That is Robert's website. Be sure to go there. If you have questions for Robert tonight, please do write them all in caps, and somebody will get those to us, and we can get those answered right on air. And at this time, I want to welcome back Robert. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm back.
Yes, good, good, good. Well, I was just sharing with everyone your spiralgalaxy.org website. We gave that information out. It's also posted on my website as well. If somebody forgets it or what have you, they can go there and just click on the link. It'll take you right to your website as well. Fabulous website, by the way. I got perusing in that a little bit. It's just lots of tons of information. Your personality and your humanity, so to speak, and consciousness really does show in that website. So thank you for that. So okay, so let's go forward then, Robert. You want to pick it up, and you want to pick it up at the nuclear piece, or you want to go back a little bit and present a little bit more before then?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, when I first started going back and started talking about this publicly, I didn't realize there had been other incidents similar to mine. And these incidents involved nuclear weapons. In my book, I list, I don't know, maybe 14 or so other significant UFO incidents involving nukes, starting with 1945, even before the first atomic bomb was exploded in a test. UFOs were seen over the Hanford nuclear facility in Washington. Now, this was a facility that was producing plutonium for the first bombs, and so there is documentation of fighter pilot pursuit of UFOs in 1945 over this Hanford nuclear site. And of course, I talk about the Roswell crash. The Roswell crash, Roswell Army Air Force Base at the time, was the only nuclear bomb base that we had in the country at the end of World War II. So there were nukes there. And then go into the 50s, Beale Air Force Base, B-52 bomber base, many UFO sightings there. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Ramey Air Force Base in Puerto Rico, UFOs flew over, again, B-52s that were on the flight line, ready to go in case we went to war with Russia during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Again, Walker Air Force Base, which was Roswell. Again, we have witnesses in 63. 64, there was a significant incident, Vandenberg Air Force Base, where a UFO was filmed, actually flying alongside a test missile launch. This was an Atlas missile that was had a dummy warhead, but that was filmed. Actually, the whole flight was filmed. It was shot out of Vandenberg towards the Western Test Range in the Pacific, and when they processed the film, you could actually see UFO flying around the nose cone and sending a beam of light at the nose cone. And this is a well-documented incident. So we had many, 1976, Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, another missile launch, missile control center, and this time 180 rounds of ammunition were fired at the object. That particular witness was messed with by, he was interrogated, and he was drugged while in the hospital, and this was kind of a preamble to what happened at Bentwaters Base, which is in the United Kingdom. That was the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, where many witnesses saw UFOs. You probably heard of Colonel Charles Holt, who talked about that, Larry Warren. But those witnesses, many of those were given drugs and fed false information. And again, this was part of what I refer to as the disinformation effort, that is an organized effort by what I call the UFO cabal. We can talk about.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that word up. Please explain the meaning of that according to, yeah, just explain the meaning of cabal, because some people don't understand what that means. I love that you did that.
Yeah, cabal is just a secret organization. You know, in general, it's a secret group that has some kind of an agenda. In this case, I refer to the UFO cabal, which I'm convinced is an international organization, probably staffed by intelligence agencies from members of intelligence agencies like the CIA, like the NSA, but worldwide. You know, each country does have an intelligence organization that where they spy on other countries, but
spies watching the spies are watching the spies.
Right, and so I'm convinced that there is a group of these that are connected, that are sharing information about UFO encounters and crashes, recovering craft, and sharing that information. And there's probably a core organization that's running this group. I go into some detail as to how I think this group might be organized in my book.
Right.
And again, I'm convinced of this for a couple of reasons. One is back in 1950, a Canadian engineer by the name of Wilbert Smith was asked to work with the U.S. government. He was a Canadian engineer, and what they were working on was called something about gravimetrics, or the gravity field surrounding the Earth, and how to maybe utilize it some way. But during this project, he was informed that there is a secret group studying the UFO phenomenon, and that the phenomenon was real. He actually reported this back to his superior. And again, this was probably in the early stages of this secret cabal. May have been called Majestic 12. I don't know. Some of those Majestic 12 documents are suspect, but there is plenty of evidence, including you know, statements by Ed Ruppelt, who headed Blue Book, that there was a secret group. And again, I give evidence in my book that there were indeed secret files that the Connick Committee did not have access to. So there's a lot of evidence that there is a secret government group, in our government especially, and our government may be in the lead in this group, that is withholding this information from the public. Now, again, I made the point in my first book and also in this one that this is not right. This phenomenon is real, and I'm convinced that these objects are not from planet Earth. They are being controlled by extraterrestrial beings, and the government knows this, and for whatever reasons they have, and I think right now they're mostly greedy reasons, they're withholding it from the public, and the public has the right to know. We need to get involved. We need to be involved in what's being done about this.
So I have a whole bunch of little side things we're going to go off here, but first let's go ahead and get a couple of these questions taken care of. I think you already I think you've already answered this, but have you be more specific. How does Robert feel about the cover-up, and is he angry about it?
Yes, I guess I am angry about it. Again, what we've got here with this cabal, this UFO cabal, is a little government within a government. When you think about the kinds of secrets they're withholding from the public, let's just think about that. Uh, these are obviously craft that can travel to the planets and possibly the stars. Uh, and they have different form of energy use than we know about. We could probably um, help ourselves, let's say, with different kinds of applications of the kind of energy they're using to travel these fantastic distances, fantastic speeds. So the information they're holding is valuable. It's of value, and that's why I say probably the reason it's being withheld mostly is about greed, because uh, someone that has this kind of information can probably hold sway over other governments and other individuals with many resources. So again, this is not fair. It's not right. The public should know about the fact that other life forms exist and are visiting our planet, and what should we do about that? I'm not making any blanket statements as what we ought to do about it. I have opinions. I have an opinion that they are here mostly to be of assistance to us, but that's strictly my opinion, and I think the public needs to get engaged.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could go off on some things there. So we've got questions coming in. So let me go to the next one, and then I'm going to have you continue on with your information, because this goes along with what we were getting ready to get into. Does Robert think the UFOs are attracted to nuclear devices to draw fuel from them, or for studying development? And then I'm going to have a question beyond that, which is, or is it, do you think it's something else?
Well, I don't know if attraction is the right word. I think they're concerned that we are going to destroy ourselves, destroy, in fact, all living things on the planet. We go through our lives every day. We don't really think about nuclear war. And that's why every time I talk about this in conferences, I bring up nuclear war and the fact that it is a very real possibility that we could get involved in a nuclear war. We've got an enormous number of nuclear weapons worldwide, some 20,000 nuclear weapons, warheads on submarines, on land, and in the air. And we've got countries, for example, North Korea just test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile. The Iranians just test-fired a long-range missile. Now, of course, we've got this agreement with Iran, but who knows how long that will last. And the North Koreans have already tested nuclear devices. And we know they have an unstable government. There are governments like Pakistan and India that have nuclear weapons. Israel has a nuclear program. They have nuclear weapons. So, we're on the precipice. We're still on the edge of a possible nuclear holocaust. And I think the public needs to understand that. We have got to work hard to disarm the world of nuclear weapons. And I think that is the issue of the intelligence behind the UFOs as far as their involvement with our nukes. I think they're just trying to warn us. And I think my incident in particular was simply a warning. It was just a message that get rid of the nuclear weapons. Just get rid of them. This sort of message has happened in many other incidents. The Rendlesham case, which I mentioned, UFOs came over the weapons storage area at Bentwaters Base. They had nuclear weapons there. They sent a beam of light over the storage area where nuclear weapons were held. And again, it was a message, simply a message. They wanted to shine a light on them and let us know that they are concerned. This has happened at other bases. Aviano Air Base, Italy, 1977, same thing. UFOs came over, shone a beam of light on the UFO storage area, the nuclear storage area, and then just flew off. So this has happened time and time again. And again, I think they're just trying to warn us that if we don't do something about our nuclear weapons and our nuclear reactors, by the way, we're simply going to destroy ourselves in either nuclear war or some sort of radiation effects, such as what happened at Fukushima.
Well, yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. And my hope is that, you know, our so-called leaders, cough, cough, of the worlds will get their proverbial heads out and take a stronger stance. And really, we all live on this planet. They need to figure it out. We have just been war after war after war after war with each other on this planet. There's been no conclusions. There's been no benefit except for to line pocketbooks of those that wish to keep the rest of us enslaved, I guess, for the lack of a better way of saying it. So war is never, it's not the answer. They've been doing it for thousands of years and it still hasn't accomplished a thing. So I'm in agreement with you. Let's get rid of the nuclear warheads. Let's get rid of the nuclear reactors, anything that for the power, any of that. Just get rid of it all. Then comes the real big issue. What do you do with, you know, all the leftover stuff? Because it's so toxic to everything, to all life forms that we know of, with the exception of few. So I don't know, Robert. I don't know what the answer is either. I don't have one. But certainly there was no responsibility when they thought about what it was that they were doing when they made the decision in the moment. And shame on them all. Some of them have left the planet since then. They've left in physical form, so there's no way for them to hear this. But I hope they get the message somehow or some way. All right, so the next question before you move on from the nuclear stuff there is, do you see full disclosure from our government in your lifetime, Robert?
I don't know how to answer that. I am hopeful, and I'll just mention this. I don't want to make a big issue out of it. But John Podesta is the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. John Podesta in 2009, I think it was, came out publicly at a press conference and said we need to get to the bottom of the UFO question. So he's one that does think this is real. So if we kind of extrapolate ahead, if it turns out that Mrs. Clinton becomes president of the United States and Podesta has a job in her administration, he may start some program to get to the bottom of this and work towards disclosure. That's just wishful thinking on my part. I have no way of knowing how we're going to break through because, like I said, I've participated in many conferences in D.C. And public disclosures. There have been many other witnesses come forward, especially during this last citizens hearing on disclosure. And yet we have, you know, we're still ridiculed by the mainstream press, or they ignore us. So I don't have any quick answers on how to break through that.
Yeah, and you know, let's and I'm not going to belabor this little piece here that I'm sharing either, but I know that there's been quite a few of our presidents before they are our presidents. When they're campaigning, they talk about disclosure, about how they're going to get down into the UFO phenomenon. They're going to find answers. They're going to bring it forward. and then those very same ones that are ended up being elected, they never talk about it again. It's my understanding, I have it with some people that of good authority, that once they go in and get briefed, whatever that means for the president, you know, whatever their form of briefing means, before they take their oath of office, that's one of the topics that they discuss is the UFO phenomenon, and it's my understanding that the presidents are never allowed to speak of it, whether they're real or not real. In other words, disclosure supposedly has been forbidden to be given by our presidents of the United States, and past and present. And that's
Well,
just been topics. Have you heard that?
again, presidents are human, just like you and I, and are subject to being threatened, um, subject to all kinds of pressures. So I wouldn't doubt what you say is true. That you know, we do know that President Carter had an incident. Even President Reagan had a UFO incident, and President Clinton tried to find out more about the Roswell incident and was rebuffed. So, you know, and they didn't pursue it. So even though we may think that the president has all this power, he or she may not have the power that in order to break through this intelligence cabal.
Yeah, it's got a really pretty ugly hold, I think, on too many human beings, and I think it's really time for us as humanity to stand up and band together, so to speak, and I'm talking about even those in positions of power and authority, that they need to stand up, much like you and some of your other comrades have done. And just come forward and speak. The documentation is there. Somebody knows the real truth. The people who instigated this know the truth. And even for those that have passed on, the truth is known to somebody about it in some way. It's documented somewhere, because that's what people do, is they write it down, they document it, they do something. So I would love to see that for all of us. Again, I'm going to remind everybody, any more questions, please do put them in caps in the chat box. Robert is just more than pleased to answer the questions. He's done such a gracious job tonight. I appreciate so much, Robert, all the effort and energy that you are expending here to be with us tonight. So let's continue on with, we left off before we kind of veered off on other tangents, as we're wont to do, I guess, here tonight. You left off talking about the nuclear power plants and some of the incidences that had happened, and the nuclear missile sites and all that. And where would you like to take this? Because we're about 30 minutes out total, maybe 35 minutes total of show time left, and as much as that sounds like a lot of time, it's not, as you well know. You get talking on things and we kind of go in different directions, and it's all good. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about what's commonly referred to as the abduction phenomenon.
Ah, very good.
This is another part of the UFO phenomenon that a lot of people don't want to really face up to. Dr. John Mack of Harvard, he was the head of the Harvard psychiatry department, I think, who's deceased now, but he started getting involved in interviewing abductees. The first abduction case of note was probably the Betty and Barney Hill case, 1961, in New Hampshire. And of course, there's audio tape. The niece of Betty Hill, Kathleen Marden, has written a couple of books on her experience, the Betty Hill's case. But I think that's a very valid case, and it shows, it started the conversation going, really.
Sure.
And when Mac got involved, after a while, he estimated that he had interviewed so many of these people, and some of these stories that started coming out, that he estimated that it could have been in the millions of people that have been taken in this way. So, and of course, I go into in the chapters you haven't read yet, by the way.
Oh, darn it!
I go into this a little bit more about experiencers, which they like to call themselves now. And I've talked to them. I've talked to many experiencers over the years, and people like David Jacobs, Dr. David Jacobs, who's also interviewed many abductees, and there is some kind of objective that these extraterrestrial beings have with taking humans. So that's subject to speculation, of course, but to me that there is certainly some program going on, and it's probably a hybridization program of some sort. By that I mean they seem to be taking sperm and ovum from humans and coming up with a hybrid species. Now, what they're doing, why they're doing that, is unclear. But what is clear to me, and I can speak from firsthand experience, that this is being done. This is happening.
Are you an experiencer?
Yes, I am, and I talk about this in the book.
Where I haven't read yet. Of course. Wow, we could have opened up a whole can of worms with that one now. Yeah.
I decided to go public with this. Worried about going public because I didn't want to take away from the other story that I just told you about my own incident. Sure. I didn't want to lose my credibility, so to speak. But then I decided that, this is part of it. This is part of the whole thing. And I need to come forward, and because I am fairly well known now after 20 years, and I need to talk about this to support this concept, what is going on here. And again, this is another reason for disclosure. It's possible the government has known about this too. I'm sure they do, and this cabal, and they probably got a lot more information as to what the heck's going on